Hello, hello. I am Dan. Welcome to the state of Nativewind. It is October 8th, 2025.
And I'm Mark, creator of Nativewind. We're here to talk about all things Nativewind styling and
And
what the
all
hell's
the
that with
things
preview
other
version?
there's a third. Yeah, there's a preview version stuff. We did get that right this time though. The segue there. That was good.
Oh
I
yeah,
like that.
that was a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. I've also eaten about one uh jalapeno pepper or two just now, so I'll be sweating profusely and like maybe coughing here and there. So excuse me for that one.
In my mind, because it's like breakfast time here, I was
Mhm.
like, why the hell are you eating jalapenos for breakfast? But yeah, times yeah.
Yeah, it's I love it. It fits my macros and stuff, but like dear God, at what cost? I mean, I need that jalapeno because I like spice, but it's like half
Hmm.
of my body up here likes it, and then the other half is just like, nah, dude, what are you doing to us right now?
I always
Um,
have this weird thing with spice where when I eat it, I feel like I'm not 100% sure if I enjoyed it. But if I go long enough without it, then I really start to crave something spicy.
yeah,
And it's just this vicious cycle of like really feeling like I need it and then eating it and then like maybe just overdoing it and just being like,
yeah.
oh, that was a little bit too much. I need a break now. And then it just starts
I
again. Yeah.
I have like we have this chicken spot that's like really spicy, and then I'll order it, and my girlfriend will be like, "Again? You sure about this
Yep.
one?" Kind of thing.
But it's so good.
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah.
why, but it is. Yeah.
They've got some food scientists over there, you know.
I
But
worked with a guy who had Indian every day for lunch, and every day he'd have to
what
eat it with a box of tissues because he was just crying.
was he
And
Indian?
no, but he just
Bruh,
loved it. He said it was like it was so good, and it was like like invigorated him, like it gave him energy. So he'd come back from lunch like ready to go after this like hot food session. I was like, sure, okay,
I
that
was
works for you.
speaking of which, I was just like I said in SF this past weekend, and I walked by this restaurant, Curry Up Now. I used to live in SF, and at the time I was into Bitcoin and stuff, and I had seen an opportunity to get a Curry Up Now is like a mix between, I guess, like Mexican and Indian, so like burrito Indian kind of thing, if that makes any sense. And I got a chance to order one of these burritos using a third of a Bitcoin,
Yep.
and I did. And I've just been like, I've that's the only reason I've been praying for the price to go down is because it pains to have that be. And I walked by it, and I had this like scowl on my face as I looked by, and I was like, I hate you, Curry Up Now. I hate you for having stolen that. It wasn't even a good burrito. It was a really bad burrito, actually.
Yeah.
And I love Indian food, so I get that guy. Um, but yeah, okay. So on to like actual right, like styling conversation. So since last week, I have been working on RN new stuff. We talked about basically moving from the latest version of RN new, which is like a starter template boilerplate kind of thing, representing SDK 54 plus Nativewind version 4.1. And then the Canary version last week supported SDK 54 plus Nativewind version 5. Then it occurred that a bunch of people want to be doing SDK 54 and sort of with version 4.1 of Nativewind, and then separately with like there's a group who want version 5 preview. So
Hmm.
I've spent the last week basically doing that. So now if you do latest of RN new stuff, you're getting SDK 54 and Nativewind version 4.1, while the Canary version remains version 5 preview with SDK 54. Um, and while I've gotten latest to work with Expo Router, um, I have been stuck the last couple of days with the Canary version of RN New, trying to get basically version 5 preview plus SDK 54, working with Expo Router version 6. And at first, thanks to some folks in our Discord community and the GitHub issues, I realized this is an issue with a fuck to death library that I hate called Lightning CSS. And I don't know anything about it, really, frankly. I'm an idiot. But I know it for the problems that it causes us. And it is the craziest thing because it's literally a difference of just minor or patch version, not even minor, patch version, 1.30.1 versus 1.30.2. And unless you have the override, if you're using, I think it's bun. I don't know if resolutions is universal, but I'm using bun. So I just in my package.json specify resolutions, Lightning CSS, and hard set it to 1.30.1. Suddenly, my problems are largely resolved, but styles still aren't applying. And then I realized I might just be an idiot in the way that I'm implementing Expo Router because I changed some stuff up and the style started to appear again. And there's certainly a lot to improve here. This also got me into styling third-party components like safe area view from safe area context. And we'll get into this later, but basically, I think our docs for version 5, the preview docs, still specify using remap props, which I don't think we're
Okay.
using anymore. So we'll have to switch that
Yeah.
to styled. And I think a lot of folks are facing confusion due to a mixture of these two things. Like, I think if we just knock
Yes.
these two components out, and we'll go into them separately, then I think that we're somewhat in the clear with version 5 beginning to stabilize a little bit more. So, Mark, why don't you, before we go deeper into like any details of the stuff I've been working on, why don't you share anything that you have sort of gone through the last week?
Yeah. So I've been trying to look into this dependency issue. Um, so I might just kind of explain a little bit what's happening here. Um, so at the moment, to bundle our CSS, we use Expo's CSS pipeline to process the CSS. And internally, it uses Lightning CSS. We then, after that, we get the result back from the file. We then use Lightning CSS again to extract our styles from the
In
library
reverse.
in reverse.
Yeah.
So there's actually three things. Sorry, and in between that, Tailwind CSS is running Lightning CSS over its file to do the transform as well. So there's actually three libraries here, all using Lightning CSS. And even though our package version dependencies should be correct, Tailwind CSS is using a patched version of Lightning CSS. Like they apply a patch on top of it, which is forcing two versions to be installed, which just it doesn't like, and that just throws things out of whack, essentially.
It throws this
So
error, which folks in the audience might have seen, where it's
yeah,
like, I think it's something deserialization global.css. And it's very misleading because it makes you think that something's wrong with the global.css. And in fact, if you ask an LLM, what's wrong here, it will repeatedly tell you that it has something to do with the global.css file. It has nothing to do with the global.css file.
yeah,
Not directly, I would say.
yeah, not directly with it. It's just that that error is coming from Metro, and Metro isn't 100% sure how to handle this error that's being thrown. Um, so at this stage, it's not just as simple as, can we just make the packages depend on each other properly? You can use the overrides, but it's kind of like getting three packages to line up, not two, which is going to be a bit more annoying. I'm thinking maybe the best solution is actually to put out a PR into the Expo repo, getting them to expose their instance of Lightning CSS, and that we can
Oh,
then
that way
use
we
that
can read it and
as well.
match to it, basically.
Exactly. So this way that
Okay.
we wouldn't have our own dependency on Lightning CSS. We would use the version that's being used by Expo. And as long as Expo and Tailwind align, like it just takes us out of the equation.
Mm, okay.
That should then help those two packages align up better.
Does Tailwind already expose which version of Lightning CSS they use?
They have a like automatic updating. They're pretty much always on the latest version.
Okay. Yeah, I
While
let Yeah, then that PR sounds like the way to go about it. We could pretty easily, into the debug bit of Nativewinds, put in like, hey, you seem to be, running whatever version that's not aligned. If that were an issue, it wouldn't presumably be an issue if what you're saying was merged in, basically, and we had
Yeah.
something that just auto jumped to it. Um,
And so the second half to this is because we know that essentially, like, I can recreate the issue pretty easily now. Um, so until we get this streamlined, what I'm thinking about doing is actually including a when you start the Metro server, it actually tries to compile the CSS early, catches that error, and then gives you a better error message saying like, please use like overrides or resolutions to resolve this error temporarily. So that way, if this error occurs again in the future, we can at least tell people a workaround for it. And that way, like we don't get like people just don't get blocked and not know how to proceed or have to search GitHub issues. So
yeah.
that's the second half of it. Is like, how do we fix the problem now, and how do we stop it occurring in the future? Two different solutions on how to do that.
Okay.
The
Um,
also annoying part is like, if people are asking how did this get past testing, the version for Tailwind that caused everything to go out of whack got released the day after we published the preview. So that's where everything worked fine for one day, and then everything just collapsed. So, yeah,
Incredible. We absolutely love to see it.
this is why we have preview versions.
Yeah. But for right now, if you just pass that resolution with the override for Lightning CSS 1.30.1, it should get rid of that error, and then you should be able to move past it. That being said, you'll soon run into another challenge, and this is just simply due to poor documentation, which I'd like to jump into, is with respect to styling third-party libraries. So let me just pull that up, and then at least I'll know what thing to change it to after this call. But so I like to use safe area view from safe area context in RN new. And I guess I can just sort of share my screen on this one. Give me a second. I think it's this button. Share screen. And this one. Right. So I think when we published the version 5 docs, this went live. And so the intention is to have something like this where you would have like safe area view here. Presumably you would also pass the children here. Is that correct?
You don't need to, because children can be a prop.
Okay, so you would just leave it as is, safe area
Yeah.
view, and then you just pass down the props. You wouldn't even need style, I actually think, right? Like if you're not passing styles to safe area view,
Yeah.
then
You
you
don't,
could just
yeah.
pass the props like to prop drill down. Um, so yeah, then you would have something like styled safe area view, right?
Mhm.
And that would work. There's a step in here where it suggests using remap props, which is not a thing anymore. And I know a lot of people have also gotten a little bit confused because they're not sure where to import styled from, which is what actually would replace
Yes.
this.
The typings are broken at the moment for the styled. It's not coming up in the typings. It is there.
So it
Um,
functions. It's just you'll get the type error.
yes, they'll be fixed in the next preview release once we um, release that. That's fixed on the main branch. Just hasn't been published yet.
Gotcha. Okay. So yeah, step one, you would replace this with styled, right? You'd then pass the styled safe area view, right? You'd pass
Mhm.
class name style, and that's it. And that should work. Then like once you can start using safe area view with a class name and pass it utility classes. It doesn't have to be inline either. Like you can pass it as a what, a variable or whatever, as a constant. Um,
Yep.
so I think that's the only component of this that needs changing. I'd have to test that. Is there anything that's coming up like right now that you see that you're like, wait, hold on, that needs to be different?
No, those docs are right for third-party components. I
Mm-hmm.
think we need other docs for stuff like this as well. Like, so for example, you don't actually need safe area view because we support the safe area units in the safe area classes. So
Oh,
you can do like M safe, like M dash safe, and that will support the margin of the safe area.
you're saying
So
as a utility class passed in
as a
class name?
utility class, yeah.
Okay, so you would just do a view and then class name m dash safe, you said?
Yep. And that will then add margin of the
Okay.
safe area or P dash safe. And you can actually get kind of fancy with it. Where you can do like, what is it? Like safe or 20, stuff like that, which is like do the safe area or up to 20, whatever is larger.
Right.
Like you could do like some calc. There's some fancy classes there. We'll publish the docs for that, but we're on that soon. But yeah,
Okay.
essentially, there's going to be a couple of things, and like for example, another one is the SVG libraries. So that they are not working at the moment as well. We'll get them working soon. We'll have some docs in it on how to like style React Native SVG. We used to
Right.
have docs that's slightly changed, so we need to improve the docs on that as well.
Yeah, and then the other things are, I think, dark mode and fonts. Those are the
Yes,
things that people, and I think we're
the
switching
classic
now
of
to the
fonts.
actual, yeah, yeah. So in contrast to the version 4 stuff that we have, I think now we actually want to allow folks to do like dark mode class, utility
Mm-hmm.
class, or is
Yeah,
it, sorry, pseudo class? What do you call that?
utility class.
Utility class. So that's going to change and that guide's going to go up. I like it works. It works now. You just have to set it up correctly. So I'd like to set a goal for myself to publish that by end of week because I know a bunch
Mm-hmm.
of folks
Yeah.
are confused by that. The fonts is lower priority, but really nothing there has changed since version 4 though, to my
So it
knowledge.
has changed for the dark mode. Before we used to have this kind of like magical dark mode
For
class
yeah.
that
Yeah.
over, and now you have to be explicit about it. So part of the
I
things
was
about
saying for the
V5 is
fonts
for the
specifically.
fonts, yeah,
Yeah.
the fonts haven't changed. But yeah, for
Yeah.
dark mode, a lot of the feedback we got for V4 is there was a lot of magical stuff happening with Nativewind, and people wanted it to be more
Like more
explicit,
like, yeah.
more like the web, where like if you want dark mode class, you have to add a dark mode class onto like the body. So obviously there's no body in React Native, but as long as you add it to like your top level view, it should be fine.
Do we want to, I know the Tailwind docs at one point maybe still have different approaches to implementing dark mode. Do we still want to support the set color scheme or whatever versus dark, like the class name approach? Or do we kind of just want to be like, hey, use the class name approach?
Honestly, like I think we just need to document the difference between the two.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so there's also another thing there is we we used to have our own color scheme management where we would kind of map the color scheme as well, and we've taken that out in favor of using React Native's color scheme listeners directly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think we just need to document what the two approaches are and how they are different because I don't think people in React Native might understand how web color schemes work and that there's a difference between device color scheme and you specifying a color scheme yourself. And you can mix and match. Like it's not, you have to be one or the other. You could use device colors for some and then like manually specify dark mode for others. Um, and there's also the inverse of like sometimes you might want a light color scheme like a manual light or manual dark. Sometimes you have an app and they inverse the colors in certain sections. Where you have like a dark surrounded, but then they want to inverse to have a light. So things like that is like when it's good to use the manual control of the color scheme, um, which is possible. So yeah, we just need some better documentation about that for the
So are you
native
saying that
developers.
the set color scheme approach does not allow for that, whereas you could
But set
through
color scheme uses media queries. So
Mhm.
when you write a media query that says like prefers color scheme, that's what sets color scheme is toggling. It's toggling the styles for those media queries, while using the dark utility class is just changing the what CSS variables are cascading or what rules are cascading within that
which
boundary.
you can set custom values for.
Yes.
Like yeah.
Yeah. What I was
Okay.
getting at there is like you could go dark, light, dark, and like kind of alternate those utility classes to change the theme of that section. Like it
Right.
doesn't have to, when you use the utility class approach, it doesn't have to be app wide. While media queries apply to the whole app, there's no sort of like context for it.
Okay. All right. So then it's just document the difference.
Yeah.
All right. So then I'll definitely have the styling third party thing, styling third party components up. I also will likely put an example in there. So
Mm-hmm.
folks can actually see like, okay, here is a working version of it. Um,
Yeah. I think a good example would be with icons and maybe some
icons.
icon libraries. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Um, so I'll do that. I would like to get the Canary version of the Expo router with version 5 and SDK 54 bit out by end of week. And there's like if I'm just stabbing at it on my own end, I guess basically the question is it likely that the next publish of the preview version will be by end of week?
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
hopefully. Yeah.
Okay.
We'll say.
So yeah,
I like to promise this because things always pop up. But yes,
no, of
I'd like
course.
to to be end of week. Yeah.
I just think it's otherwise I'm going to be poking around trying to
Yeah. Yeah.
modify the structure of things such that the styles are properly applied. Um, and it'll mean a change to how RN new just kind of does some things. So,
Yeah.
um, also, if you have any questions, you're in the audience, feel free to like drop them into the chat as we go along. We'll at the very least get to them at the end. But okay, so documentation updates coming between now and the next State of Nativewind, which we do once a week on Wednesdays at this time. Uh, New preview version should be out by
End of
then.
the week. Yep.
Yeah, and RN new Canary version will be out so that it's easier to start these projects with um, version 5 and all this. I have shared a repo that actually for one reason or another has version 5 working with Expo router.
Mm-hmm.
And I have tried every which way to understand exactly why that is. It's actually how I came to realize the resolutions bit. Um, I will link to the specific issue in the chat where that lives. But yeah, so that's largely what's going on that front. We also did upgrade Nativewind UI to work with SDK 54 now. So that's in there as well. Folks are asking now about liquid glass. And as
Mm-hmm.
I've said before, that's largely a Expo thing and your own implementation. It wouldn't entirely make sense for us to like put that in. We more so just tell you how each individual library handles recognizing is this iOS 26 or not.
Yeah.
And
So I
if
actually spoke
yeah,
to Expo or spoke to Evan a little bit about this, saying that we're getting a lot of users who are asking for, I want to have like liquid glass styling or different styling if liquid glass is in effect.
Hmm.
And we spoke about some couple of different approaches, and the one that we agreed upon, it seems quite nice, is to support a media query. So in CSS, there's an at rule at supports, and so you could do something like at supports dash Apple. There's like a weird rule that Apple uses, and we'll just call it that. Like basically, do you support liquid glass? And then
Yeah.
any rules inside that at support at rules will be applied,
Oh, they'll be triggered. Interesting.
will be
So would that
triggered.
just be on like an app.json level or something?
No, so this is in your global.css file. Like you actually write
Oh,
CSS to say like, okay, if liquid glass is in effect, then maybe I want to adjust my styles slightly differently. Like
I
do it,
see.
maybe I want to have different colors, like slightly different tints in my colors or different opacities in effect.
Hmm.
So you could actually write rules that target that.
Interesting. Okay. Gotcha.
But
That
the
would
interesting
be,
part there is that requires work on Expo's end, because on device we don't get that information exposed to us nicely,
mhm.
essentially being like, does this device actually support liquid glass, or is liquid glass in effect? um, because users can turn it off, apps can turn it off through like plist settings and things like that.
Mhm.
And so there's no just like React Native, like there's no accessibility feature in React Native that tells you if liquid glass is on or not. There's like the reduced transparency, but you can use reduced transparency and liquid glass and it's still slightly different. Like,
Well,
so
the way
we're
we,
going to require some work from Expo for them to actually like inject some extra information into the bundle to tell us like which version of iOS does this app actually support liquid glass, things like that.
the way we currently do this for Nativewind UI is we use the device from the platform, uh, whatever bit to determine whether someone's running iOS 26, and then we conditionally do things based off of that in the component level, right? Because you have the
Yeah.
Nativewind UI folder in your project, components, and then each, on in each component level, you would have that platform specificity kind of thing. Um, I mean, it's not elegant, I would say. It's fine, it's
Yeah.
okay, but
So that works and it doesn't work because as a third party library, someone could import Nativewind UI into their app
yeah.
and then turn off liquid glass in the plist. So therefore you
And that
don't
would,
know.
right.
Like, because the device info would still look like it can use
But
liquid
you wouldn't be
glass.
seeing the actual thing occur. Okay, I see
Yes.
what you're saying. Um, yeah, I didn't know about that plist thing. Um,
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
okay. Um, all right. Well, yeah. So that's the bulk of the update with Nativewind UI stuff. The rest of the stuff is largely internal. Has to do with how we deal with licensing and logistics. I just got some jalapeno in my eye. Um,
Great
looking
time
forward
for
to
on
that
camera. Yeah.
developing. Yeah, over. I'm already starting to tear up. I can feel it. Um, so yeah, I think that's the bulk of the updates. Oh, the other thing is the Uniwind release is going to drop this week, the public one. I got a chance to play around with that. It's kind of cool. And I'll likely be bringing that into RN New as well. So if anyone is interested in sort of doing the sort of side by side understanding of the two and how they operate, you'll be able to try those things out. Um, but yeah, Yatsik has been putting in a ton of work on that front, and we've been chatting to figure out how to best, do things for both Nativewind and for Uniwind. I'm interested to see how that shakes out. So yeah, a lot of styling updates coming this week for folks to try out, mess around with. But look forward to the docs being quite a bit more robust and well handled. Uh, some change, fixes to these underlying issues we've discussed. By next week, I will likely have also implemented tools to make it easier to edit the docs that we have, as well as to copy markdown representations of the docs so that you can paste them into something like an LLM and say, hey, use this context to uh, do stuff version 5 specific, because I've been noticing as I've been trying to build stuff, it keeps trying to skew towards version 2, not even version 4. Literally, it's
Yeah.
just like the bulk of the information on the internet is version 2. Here's how I think it does. It spells Nativewind with a capital W. It's completely out there. So that this should help with that aspect as well. I think that's it. Mark, do you have anything else you wanted to flag?
I think the only other thing we need to like flag is need to do some new testing and some new stuff on ReactConf as well. Lots of new announcements there.
Oh yeah, yeah. I haven't actually been like
But
watching it intently. Have you?
I haven't. I'm just kind of like, well, I just kind of woke up, so gone through the highlights. But day two is always when the React Native stuff happens.
Uh-huh.
First day is always about React in the web. Um, so it looks like the big things here are Hermes, static Hermes, is now it can be enabled in the latest version. So we'll have to do some testing with static Hermes just to see how things go, and kind of if that changes our plans for the future. So yeah, kind of looking forward to that.
Okay. Yeah, I did see some neat stuff definitely on the web side of things. And I definitely had to fight the temptation to like, go drive out to Las Vegas. I'm in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just like, you know what? I'm going to be doing enough traveling this month. I'll see them all in Europe at some point early next year, So, um yeah, I'll take a look and see if anything like affects what we're doing. We can play around with that stuff. But for now, that's going to be it for us for this week, unless folks have any questions, which it looks like they do not. We will catch y'all in the next one. Thanks for joining in.
Cheers, guys. Thanks a lot.